Just one cornetto, give it to me. Delicious ice cream from Italy. I'm certainly going to have to cool myself down after that race because that was a hot, spicy race indeed. Wow, good stuff, cornettos. Not quite sure what to do with now. Jolyon. Here he is, scrolling on into action. Take that for me, Jolyon. Is there any Palmers of the Week this week? No Palmers of the Week. That's bizarre. What about Team Wall? Oh, we might have some hot, spicy action there. So, thanks a lot, Jolyon. Au revoir. So, time to kick things off, of course, from the Cruel Wall, the Italian Grand Prix. What a race it was. Some hot, spicy action indeed. It was Lewis Hamilton that took the win in the end. Can you believe it? I certainly didn't. It was a good race. Good race indeed. Some exciting stuff. Some strategic play by Mercedes, which I'm pretty sure not a lot of people will be agreeing with. But racing's racing, isn't it? And Ferrari, a potential 1-2, went begging that weekend. They looked to have the car, but they didn't have the pace. In the end, they got caught out by the Mercedes strategy. To kick things off, Lewis Hamilton, the race winner. Fantastic drive, really. Can't really fault him. Qualified P3, but Ferrari looked to be faster, so P3 was the best he could have hoped for. In terms of the race, it was pretty much a Mercedes strategy that kept him and got him into that lead, because Ferrari got caught up in the trap of pitting early, and of course then getting stuck behind Bottas, and there you go. We had the incident at turn 3 with Sebastian Vettel, of course, which wasn't ideal. Racing incident, in my opinion, just one of those things. Good to see two championship rivals going head-to-head as well. Didn't pay off for one of them, but there you go. That's the price you pay for putting your championship on the line, potentially. Vettel needs to calm it down a little bit, in my opinion. So Hamilton, great race. Assisted a lot by his team, of course, and by Valtteri Bottas. Without that, would he have won? I'm not sure. I think he still might have got it, but it'd have been a lot later on in the race because Kimi's tyres were struggling. So for that reason, Hamilton, not a perfect weekend in my eyes, because without that assistance, he might not have won. And of course, it just annoyed me. It just annoyed me because, you know, it's all this, oh, love win, guys, and bless you and all this, and I can't be doing with it. And then the fans as well that were proper turncoating on the Saturday saying, well, it's Vettel win, guaranteed Vettel win. You're just like, why is it? Why is it? And everyone just whinging, and I just can't be doing with it. And it's Hamilton fans that piss me off. Vettel fans piss me off as well, and Verstappen fans. But Hamilton fans piss me off a lot this weekend. So he's going to get 8 points for his overall race performance and qualifying, and then I'm going to dock him another 2 points because of his fans being dickheads. So that's going to be 6 points for Lewis Hamilton, because fans annoy me more than the races, it seems, this weekend. My Twitter was full of hypocritical things. It was filled with, 1 minute it was, oh God, it's so unfair that Ferrari are going to let Vettel win, to, oh, Bottas played a great team game. And you're like, oh, f*** off. Anyway, next up we have Kimi Räikkönen in P2. Stunning drive, a stunning pole position as well. I'm really chuffed for him, I really was. He deserved that pole, and he deserved the win as well, but Ferrari just got caught up in strategy. Kimi could do nothing. He had to try and get past Bottas. It didn't work, and then in the end, the race came, and he just couldn't hold on. But Ferrari, you did a solid job that weekend. Kimi, you did the best job you could, really, you did, and full respect to you for that. The Tifosi loved it, even though it weren't the win. And Kimi Räikkönen, you're going to get 10 points. I'm going to award you 10 points because there's a little bit of sympathy there for you that you didn't quite win, because it was your only opportunity, because Vettel was out effectively, wasn't in your race anymore, so you were the number 1 Ferrari for all of this race, and they still got it wrong. So there you go, Räikkönen 10 points. Next up we have Valtteri Bottas. Oh, what do I say about Valtteri? Crossed the line 4th, finished P3 as a result of Verstappen's penalty. Yeah, that was deserved in my eyes, a 5-second penalty. So there we go. Bottas though, yeah, it was made to play second fiddle from the moment lap 1 began. So how do I really score it? How can I score that? You're a number 2 driver, a clear number 2 driver now. Like there was any doubt anyway, and it's just the blatancy of it that annoys me. So Bottas, well, I'm going to give you 5 points, mate. That's all I can do. I just don't know what to score you, because you were playing the team game from lap 1, and yeah, that was that. P3, okay, you got it. Well done. Next up, P4, Sebastian Vettel crossing the line P5, but Verstappen wasn't really bothered about battling Bottas. He didn't care about the 5-second penalty, so just got on with his race. And that meant that he lost out to Vettel as well. So Sebastian Vettel taken out at the start. I'm going to say that's not really correct. I know it isn't. It wasn't taken out at the start. It was came together with Hamilton at the start and lost out and slipped to the back with front wing damage, but did a good job and recovered to P4. The gap now 30 points in the championship. So even if Hamilton finishes second to Vettel for the next 4 races, Hamilton will still have the championship lead. Only 7 races left. It's going to be a tight one, potentially. I think Ferrari are strong. We know Singapore, Mercedes tend to struggle, so there's a chance there, but they've got to capitalise on it now. They really got to. Vettel, though, a good recovery, a silly start. It was a silly start. It could have been second to Hamilton. It could have come, you know, it could have allowed Hamilton to overtake him and they got back at him, but there you go. In the end, he decided they were going to go for the move and, oh well, there you go. So there we go. Vettel, an okay weekend, good qualifying, 7 points. Next up we have Max Verstappen P5. Now, finished P3, but was P5 after his 5-second penalty, which was deserved. He squeezed Bottas off the track, there's no doubt in that. Lucky that they didn't come to damage and the both of them were out. Verstappen, though, had a solid race up to that point, but Verstappen did this in the first 6 or 7 rounds at the start of the season, where he was making silly errors which were costly, and this was another one of them. I hope it's not too much, I hope it's not the end. I think it was unsighted, it wasn't deliberate, but just cost him. So it was going to be a 9 for him, but I'm going to have to dock him down to a 6, because it cost himself, really. Next up, we have Roman Grosjean, and Haas now taking P4 in the Constructors' Championship as a result of Grosjean's efforts this weekend. So I think he's managed to claw some of his respect back from his team, but had he not had the silly errors at Baku, there could have already been P4 now. So going to be looking to keep hold of this, aren't they? Grosjean, though, strong result, P6, best of the B teams, and by quite a way as well, ahead of the 2 Force Indias. So a solid job by Grosjean. Didn't see much of him in the race, but strong performance, 9 points. Next up we have, of course, as mentioned, the 2 Force Indias racing points, pointless Force India, whatever you want to call them. Ocon finishing ahead of Perez. Ocon got through into Q3, whereas Perez was out in Q1, so a great drive by Perez, really. Ocon finished 7th, Perez 8th, respectable. Another double points finish under the new ownership of Daddy Stroll. And yeah, good result for the pair of them. Ocon, yeah, okay, good strategy. Stayed out a while, which, you know, they tried to make it so that they could stay out and Grosjean's tyres drop off so they could overtake. Didn't quite happen, but they maintained the position, only losing out then to the recovering Vettel, which is more than respectable, of course. So for that reason, Esteban Ocon, I'm going to score you 8 points. A solid weekend this weekend. And Perez, you can have 9 points. It wasn't your fault that you didn't do the extra lap in qualifying. That was a team error, and to be a thousandth of a second off must be frustrating, but you've recovered it well this weekend to bag yourself another 4 points for your calls, and 10 points together for Force India. So they've now leaped ahead of Toro Rosso, definitely. I think they might have jumped ahead of Sauber as well, you know, but I'm not too sure yet. But good result, good 2 races since they started on 0. Good stuff. Next up we have Carlos Sainz. A lonely race really for him. He was lapped. He was the first one to be lapped on the list, of course. And Sainz, yeah, solid enough weekend. A couple of points for Renault. They were hoping for more again, I'm sure. Qualified in P7, so slipped back. Yeah, and again, just a quiet race. Didn't really get involved in too much. You know, it was an exciting race, but it was mainly happening up at the front and the recovery drive. So Sainz didn't really put too much of an effort up when Vettel was coming back through. And there you go. Sainz, solid enough weekend. Only a couple of points for Renault. Must be disconcerting. And now they've lost out to Haas as well. They're going to want to be desperate to recover that. But I doubt it they're going to be putting that Generation C engine or whatever, because they stuck it in a Red Bull and it broke down. So they won't be using that. They'll have to find the performance from somewhere else for the Singapore and the next coming races. So Carlos Sainz, I'm going to score him 7 points. Not a bad weekend. Can't let you down a bit. It wasn't the fastest out there. A couple of points is respectable. And in P10 is Lance Stroll, picking up a point for Williams. That's why I'm wearing the Williams shirt. I'm genuinely chuffed for him because Sirotkin was 11th. I'd have loved to have seen Sirotkin get the point instead of Stroll, but wasn't to be this time around. Sirotkin, more often than not, has had pace over Stroll, but for this weekend, where a point bloody came by it, Stroll was just that bit better. So for that reason, it was a good weekend by him, and genuinely happy for the Williams because they deserved a point. And yeah, I'm happy for him, I am happy. So for that reason, I'm going to give Lance Stroll, I'm going to give him his 83 million back. I think that's fair, isn't it? So plus 83 million for Stroll. He's respected himself for one race. He might lose it again, who knows? And for Sergei Sirotkin, I'm going to give him 12 points. I think that's a decent effort by him. I'm pleased for him. I know the car obviously in a straight line with the Mercedes engine. They're struggling on aero. Italy doesn't need aero. I get it. I know why they were quick. But it's just nice to see that they were doing well. Shame they couldn't get 9th and 10th, really, but there you go. That's racing. In 12th place was Charles Leclerc. What can we say, really, about him? It was okay. It was out in Q1. Wasn't ideal for him to be out that early. We've not seen him out that early for quite some time now, either. And, yeah. In the end, Leclerc did okay, but didn't do brilliantly. And I think it's going to have to be another 5 points. In fact, no, I'm going to give him 6. I think 6 is a bit fairer this time around. He drove okay, kept himself out of trouble, but I think Sauber was struggling for points this weekend, really. So, shame to see, because they've been so reliable and so looking to be consistent in point scoring. So, these opportunities like Silverstone that went begging are going to be costing them now. But there you go. I hope they'll get back to point scoring form soon, but this weekend just wasn't to be. Next up is Stoffel Vandoorne, and what really can be said about him? Not a lot. Qualified last, 20th, on genuine pace. Started 17th, the result of penalties for everyone else, and then in the end just measled around to get to 13th. I don't think he ever entered points, so Vandoorne I think is gone at the end of the season. 2 points for him. It was a crap race weekend. I know they keep saying that the chassis is potentially different and things like that, but in the end, he's just not delivering, is he? Nico Hülkenberg, 14th, was always going to be a struggle in that Renault car, starting at the back with some new engine components, and of course his 10th place penalty from Spa, which was deserved in my eyes. And yeah, a lonely race for him. He'd have struggled to get points at the best of times. He did briefly run 9th, but he needed to do an extra pit stop. He couldn't make the tyres last, so an okay race. I'm going to score him 4. It wasn't anything special. Then we get to Pierre Gasly. After starting P9 in the race, he ended up dropping down to P15. The Toro Rosso just not quick enough in a straight line. Didn't really do any problems. I think he got caught up and a little bit tangled up in the first corner, couple of offs where there was cars bouncing off wide and things, and it just cost him really, and was pretty much a sitting duck for everyone else and the rest of the competition. I think they'd have been hoping for maybe a bit better than 15th, but I think points were always going to be a struggle. A good qualifying though, nonetheless. So for that reason, Pierre Gasly, I'm going to score him 7 points. I think he had a good qualifying. The race didn't go to plan, but I don't think any of that was his fault. I just think it was the Honda engine just not being quite good enough. Then we have, of course, Marcus Ericsson. And again, he had a massive FP2 shunt and the car was written off. Team did a brilliant job to get it all back together again after the DRS failed and caused him to have several barrel rolls. Lucky to be okay. You know, testament to the car strength, and the Saubers have proved it the last 2 weekends in a row, it seems. And yeah, Ericsson, solid enough job. I'm pleased for him for that respect that he managed to get out there. He was out in Q1, but he was starting at the back anyway after all the penalties he'd incurred after they'd had to replace the entire car pretty much. And then in the race, just didn't really deliver. And 16th, yeah, it was really not a lot he could do. He got tangled up with the incident with Hartley, which we'll come to, but that was just a racing incident in my eyes. Vandoorne was involved in that as well, I forgot to mention, but it was just a racing incident. So Ericsson didn't do as well as your teammate. The car didn't look to be on pace this weekend, but with a Ferrari engine in the back of it, that's quite surprising. But nonetheless, I'm going to score him middle of the road 5. I think it was okay. Wasn't brilliant. Next up was Kevin Magnussen, and an unfortunate race for him, finishing P17, the last of the runners. Had early contact with Perez, which caused some rear floor damage and also made him make an unscheduled pit stop. And yeah, his race didn't go to plan from there. Didn't have the pace, the floor damage was costing him big time, and yeah, in the end, he could do no other really. Finished 17th, last of the finishers. Wasn't really his fault as such. The racing incident, it was just that. It wasn't anyone's fault in particular. Perez trying to capitalise on Magnussen's small mistake at the second chicane, going into the first Lesmo. Bit of contact, and it cost Magnussen dearly. Unfortunate, really. He qualified 11th. He was racing around in 10th place when the incident took place, so was potential for points. I'm sure Hassad would love to get a double point score here to compound Renault and to get them a bit further up in the championship, of course. But for that reason, Kevin Magnussen, I'm going to score him 7 points. It wasn't as good as his teammate, but overall, not too bad. Next up, we have the first retirements on this list. The last one to retire in the race was Daniel Ricciardo. And what can be said about Daniel Ricciardo? Not a lot, really. He struggled, didn't he? To be honest, his whole entire look and this season's gone begging now. It's completely left him. Yeah, his engine failed. He had to start at the back anyway due to changing engines. And then the engine that he swapped to cause all these penalties failed on him. So it's going to be tough for him for the next few races. Potentially more penalties on the way now as a result, and a disappointing way for Ricardo to finish the race. He'd have potentially got 6th. Vettel got past him on merit after the mistake, so that was a critical move for Vettel to be able to keep making progress. And yeah, for Ricardo, really, yeah, he reported a vibration, then the next thing we know, there's smoke coming out of the back of it, and he was told to stop the car. So yeah, what can I do for Ricardo? I'm just going to have to score him 5 points again. I know people are saying this isn't fair, but what else can I do? He had to start at the back. That wasn't his fault. We didn't see what his pace was in qualifying again. And then in the race, we couldn't see what his race pace was or where he'd have finished, because when he retired, he wasn't in the position he was potentially going to be in when he finished, if that makes sense. So yeah, unfortunate way for him to go. Then we come to Fernando Alonso, was running around in 10th, somewhere around there, just on the edge of points anyway, and then retired the car. Same problem as before, what a shame was his radio message, and I thought, wow, couldn't get any more sarcastic than that, Alonso. You can't wait to leave, can you, son? So, Alonso, same again, mechanical problem, 5 points. Again, I can't do any other. Unfortunate couple of races for Alonso, it must be said. And then we come to Brendan Hartley. Qualified badly, disappointingly. He lined up 18th, Pierre Gasly lined up P9. Only a 10th between the pair of them, for Gasly getting well into Q2 and Hartley out into Q1, but that's just how the game works, unfortunately. And for Brendan Hartley, it was a shame. And then in the race, he got pincered by Ericsson and Van Dorn. No one's fault in that incident at all. Just one of those things, a bit like Sorokin at Baku. And yeah, that was that, unfortunately. Such a shame for Hartley. He's had no luck, has he? What they're going to do next year, Toro Rosso, I honestly don't know. Kvyat's back in the picture now as well, so God knows. But anyway, Brendan Hartley, unfortunate weekend. Poor qualifying though, so for that reason, you're going to get 4 points for that instead of the usual 5, because you did have a poor qualifying. So, there you go. That wraps up the crawl wall. As you saw earlier, there's no Jolyon Palmer of the week this week because he's saving himself for the team wall. So look forward to that because there's a rank coming. So as always, be sure to like, comment and subscribe if you're new. Any comments you put, I'll reply to as many as you can. Did I agree? Did you agree? Disagree? Any too high? Any too low? Let me know. And thanks a lot for watching, guys, and much love from